Looking Glass has a nice feature that helps you find items that you're looking for in the application. Let me show you how to use it. First you go to Help, and then you left-click on Search Events and Attributes. Let's type in smoking. So you're trying to find out where you're going to find smoking information in Looking Glass. And what you're going to see is this search application searches on the events, the event types, and their attributes. And it also searches on my annotations. And you know my annotations by seeing a quotation mark in the output. So here we have the word smoking appearing in an event type called death in house date, an attribute called cause of death, and this is one of the causes of death. But that's not the question you're actually looking for. So we're going to shrink this by left-clicking on the downward arrow. It goes horizontal, and we look within the word finding. And now we find something that says smoking status meaningful use. We see smoking CIS, and we're not sure which one to actually look for. But you notice the quotation marks. And the quotation mark means that I have annotated something here that I want you to read when you're looking at these. Under smoking, we find a finding type. And within a finding type, we find an attribute called smoking status. And next to the smoking status, we see a quotation mark. Any phrase in a quotation mark can be left-clicked on, and you can then find out my comments, my annotations on smoking. So let's left-click on smoking, and a window opens up. And it tells you that post-epic go-live in 10:15, smoking information flows into a field called Smoke Status CEMR. So if you're building a finding set with both smoking status meaningful use for the before epic period and smoke status CEMR for the post-epic go-live, you will capture the relevant smoking information you want. So we find smoking status meaningful use. By typing in smoke, S-M-O-K, you obtain all the things you got with smoking and a lot more. You notice the smoking status meaningful use and the annotation. And you also notice something called smoke status CEMR. This is how it's recorded in the information system. And this is the other finding type that you would have to put together with smoking status meaningful use in a set in order to get all the smoking you're interested in. Suppose you were looking for hemoglobin S. And you want to find what event type that will be found in. And here you see it is a lab test. That is the event type. And it's the attribute lab test type equals hemoglobin S. Now you don't see any quotation mark next to it, but you notice that it is underlined. And there's a nice property in search if you left-click on an underlined event type. What the system will then do is it will provide a count against time to show you how many values there were over the individual months. So here in September 2016, you have 335 hemoglobin S, and in November 2014, you have 236 hemoglobin S. You're told here that in the system total, there are 8,664 hemoglobin S's, and here are their values. Let's do one more. Let's put in the word procedure. And what we see here is first CPT4 procedure date. That is an event type, which has an attribute called CPT4. And you also see my annotation. So you left-click on the annotation, it opens up, and he tells you that CPT4 data is available on outpatient procedures and has been the coding system used pre- and post-epic for outpatient procedures. It then goes on to describe what an ICD-9-SX is, where surgery procedures were recorded, what is a coding system for emergency rooms. We're going to shrink this down. We see echo as an event type has a word procedure in it. Lab tests, we're going to close that down. We have all these OR event types with a little note here. And at the time of this video, there's a data hole since the epic go live, the OR case, OR implant, OR events, and work is anticipated to be completed by 1/1/17, if not before. So I leave you little notes if people have actually looked here that there may be a data hole and not to actually use this particular event type. But let's continue to go down and see other. Here's orders, problem list with procedures in them. And here we have another event type called procedure. You can left click on that. And it tells you that these procedures and how they were coded. In the more recent time period, outpatient procedures are coded as ICD-10 PCSs, and the pre-ICD-10 period, they were coded as ICD-9-SXs, but they were all included within the event type called procedure. And if you click the procedure, left click on that, you will load the count history of procedures, which is actually quite large, quite long. And you can see here that May 2015, there were 86,693 procedures. You can see them also drop down to 0. And procedures drop down to 0 when we're not actually rerunning the code. This graphic provides you information over a time period. This is not run every day, so at some point it stops running and you suddenly get a sudden drop-off. But you can see here that procedure has data from May 2015 of 89,688 people. So now you have an easy way to find help when you need it by searching events and attributes, putting in the word you're looking for, and that word, if it's either in the event type, the event attribute, or the value, or in my note, which can be found between the two quotation marks, you will be given the opportunity of getting the information you need just when you need it.